G'day everyone, welcome along, welcome to Steelhorse Station and a bit of a different adventure today. We're going to be trying out Farthest Frontier, which is a game that's might be available in other places, but it's certainly available on Steam. And it's in pre-release, although as you can see in the bottom right of the, or maybe, yes, you can see, it's at version 0.9.4, so they're coming along reasonably well. I haven't had much experience to it, so thank you, Jack Sargent John. Good to see you there. I think you might even have Mark hiding in the background there, possibly, but welcome everybody to the stream. The answer to your question, Jack Sarge, is I have had one go. So I put a few hours into one game just to make sure I had some basic idea of how the UI worked and that it wouldn't, that it was stable enough to stream and wasn't going to cause me too many difficulties. And the place I've arrived at is I think it's fine. So I haven't had any issues with the game at all. And the only real way to find out how it's going to stream is to start. So we're going to jump right in. The way we'll do this, I'll sort of show you what I've found as I go. So to give you a sort of starting from the beginning perspective of the game, but if there's particular things anyone in the stream wants to look at or wants to do, or some influence you want to have, let's make it a creative exercise. So this is the opening screen when you first start the game. We are going to create a new settlement. You get three sort of broad difficulty options. My first attempt, I went with Trailblazer, despite being advised by Jack Sarge to keep it simple. But I actually found we will certainly, in the scope of one stream, get far enough with Trailblazer. Let's pick a name. So this can be Steelhorse Station. We'll play on medium map size. We won't worry about being pacifist. And in the detailed settings, all you get is just a simple medium and hard with some description. I like that they've got quite good descriptions and pop-up tooltips. So we'll stick with the standard settings. I think I might have let's just go with Pioneer as it relates to Raiders. So Raiders will occasionally invade, and that should give us several years to set up before we have to worry about Raiders, but it gives us the potential to have them down the track, because I don't think I can change any of these settings once we get into the game. So we'll start ourselves off and we are away.
Life can be harsh everywhere, but in the old world, there was no hope of it ever improving.
I won't run all the trailer.
When our crops failed, the ruling class would still collect the same share, leaving our children to starve.
It's done pretty
And if we had any
well.
coin to our name, the taxman would appear, demanding it for the crown. The nobles hid behind the safety of their walls and did nothing when raiders pillaged the outskirts of the city. And so, some of us decided that it was time to leave, that we'd rather take our chances in the...
So with that as the backdrop, we are heading off into the unknown. It was either that or face deportation to the colonies, perhaps. Who knows? A bit too close for home for some. So it seems to run pretty well, at least in the early stages of the game. It's certainly quite a beautiful interface. So as you can see, I've left also the tutorial mode on, so it doesn't seem to pop up too often. And the tips it gives you are pretty general, but that's as far as I can scroll out. And at the moment, we can see most of the map that we've been given. Did I not pick the right map mode? Oh, that'll do. We've got some water. So that looks pretty reasonable. So we've got a hill nearby. You can see some wolves down here. Now, are those icons? That's the first question I've got for you. I've got some opportunity to make the what would you call the interface UI? That's the word I'm looking for. A little bit bigger. How is that for size? If we went up a scale, that might be a bit better. The main reason for showing you that is just so that you can see we can change it, but hopefully that, I mean, it's a completely different interface to Farm Sim, and the first thing you notice is we're on a square grid. Now, what we're looking for here is the area of the wilderness we want to settle. Now, we can get food from fishing, so that's a good thing. The other advantage of water, of course, is that defensively it protects our backs. So I'm kind of inclined we've got lots of foraging resources. That's what lots of these things look to be, and the grey ones are locations where there's not currently anything to forage, but there will be. It's seasonal in its nature. How's that background sound? Is that too loud? I can drop that back just a little bit. No, I'm not. That's probably a bit better. Now, we won't. The other thing we can look at is fertility. So we will have a bit of a farming orientation. Thank you, Jack Sarge. But you can, if we're going to do something that's going to be really stupid, feel free to tell us. But this sort of green area looks like good spots for farming. So I'm inclined, and we're on sort of higher ground here, I'm inclined to put the city centre around here somewhere and not get too fussed about it. So let's just whack it down here and start. And now the fog of war will close in. And we start with 12 villages, nowhere for them to live. And you can see what's going on here. We might slow down to half times for just a minute. So we've got to tell our staff what to do, or our villagers what to do. They're pegging out the town centre. And the first thing I think we'll do is we're going to want to be building generally in this direction. But if we select some resources to harvest, so we don't want to harvest bushes and berries, or mainly trees we're going to need to build stuff. We're in the medieval to Renaissance sort of time. And if I drag my cursor, I can select a whole bunch of trees that we can deal with. And if I come down here, I can also add a few. So that'll be plenty to be going on with. Now, the other thing we'll do is put a road. We might just sort of make it the center of town. So let's put a, let's leave a 1 tile gap and put, whoops, a road across. And you can head up in that direction. Now, let's have a look here. What else have we got going on? Then we know... I'll turn off the facility lens for a second. So I can rotate around. Where do you reckon... We kind of need some zones, right? So... some aspects of our new town will be pretty unpleasant to live in, and some will be lovely. So we want the appeal, if you like, of the housing area to be pretty good. So I'm sort of thinking we might extend this road a little. And we don't have to do everything straight. I know if you look at, I looked at a couple of the guides and people get hung up on, you know, everything's got to be a grid and it's efficient, and it's like, well, that all sounds a little bit unpleasant. So if we put a road down here like so, we could put some houses in this section. What's over here? Yeah, we could put some housing in here. Because we're going to have our agricultural area, our first agricultural area on the other side of town there, I think. So in the building menu, we've got different types of things. Early on, we can't build very much because it's all locked. So to unlock the shelter, we need the town centre, which, if I go over in Zoom, you can see that our townspeople are cutting down trees and clearing the area, and they need 14 more logs in order to start construction of the town centre. So they'll get to that in a minute. We can probably increase the speed a little bit. Yep, it's raining again. No, Mark, this is not FS24. Well, it could be in an earlier, simpler time. But it's... I hope you can appreciate why I sort of grabbed it, at least at the outset, because it's really quite pretty and it's quite engaging the way the interface is done. The fact that you don't have to, you can micromanage things to an extent, but you don't have to, I think works pretty well. That weather's pretty loud. We probably don't need quite that much effects. Let's just wind the effects and the ambient noise just down a whisker. So, how's our town centre coming? So one of the things we can do is we can click on something we're building and prioritise it. Say, well, before you do anything else, let's get this sorted. Now, so they'll be there in a minute. Meanwhile, what's happening over there? Not enough housing, so we know that. You can see up the top, these are the supplies of basic resources. Mainly because I turn off the music in all games. I find the game music annoying. but it has the added benefit when I'm streaming of not running foul of anything that YouTube might object about. Not that I attract enough attention from anybody to worry too much about copyright, to be honest. Right, so we've got a town centre now. So we should be able to build some houses, and we're just going to go ahead and mark out. We don't have to have them all on top of each other, but if we put one there, and then on the other side of this road, if I hit the tab key, I can turn the orientation around. We'll leave 2 tiles. Yeah, 2 tiles would be good. So there you go, the trees. So we've... Yes, I can imagine. I can imagine that it kind of gets in and doesn't go away. So the housing, so they'll continue on with the housing. Now the other thing obviously is we've got a little bit of food that we brought in our wagon, but beyond that, not much. So if our first housing area is on this side of town, I think what we'll do is over here, look to set up a more industrial sort of district. And for the minute, what we might do is pop down, let's see here, food production. So we need a hunter's cabin. So we can pop him, don't want him too far away because he'll produce meat and hides and things that we want to put in storage. And I'll show you how he works in a minute. So if we pop him on that road there, we can extend the road out. Now you'll see he's got a big radius. When he gets built, we can move that radius. So in effect, we tell the hunter where to hunt. And similarly, we can do the same with a forager's shack. So let's, don't have to put him right next door. We'll sort of leave a bit of a space. So there's a couple of neat things about this compared to some games. So if I pop that down there, have we got anything that's, I don't know if I can do it on here. So you can see up here, if I click on the building itself, it tells me a bunch of stuff about the building, right? Workers aren't very happy because they haven't got anywhere to live yet. So there's 12 people and only housing for 4. But most of the buildings have this little button here which allows you to relocate the building, which is kind of neat. So if you put something in a dumb place for just an amount of labor related to the building, you can actually move it to somewhere else on your map. So you don't have to get too fussed at the beginning about perfect location. Now the other thing we're going to need is some stone. So I can see some down here. That's going to be in our way anyway. So we'll collect him, and so we can pick a specific resource and say, actually, can you get that as a priority? And the reason we want some stone is if we come over here to our houses, one of the first things they're going to need. So this is the desirability lens. So what makes it a good spot to live, and desirability for these houses at the minute is pretty low. One of the things that'll improve that is some water. The other is a bit further down the track, some decorations and things. The next one we'll look at is the water overlay, which tells you, broadly speaking, where the water is. Now, water tends to be in better supply near trees and bushes. So obviously you don't want to clear all of your undergrowth away. But if we come down here and have a look. Oops. Oops, that was the fishing shack. Wrong building. Let's go food production. No. Resources, that's what I want. And we want a basic well. So you can see as we move it around, the water bonus decreases as it gets drier, but increases as we come down here. So what we'll do is we'll pop a well in there. So that requires, for the first time, some stone. So that's why I cleared the stone. We can add that rock to the list as well. We don't want them having to wander too far. So if we come back over here, our hunter's hut looks like it's right. So hunter's hut has a work area. It gives you the instructions. I won't worry about reading it in too much detail. It's easier to show you. So over here on the hunter's hut, we can go straight to the hunter. We can turn him on or off, so we can just sit there dormant while he's active. We've got someone. So who's a good hunter? Right, so Faden's our hunter. So Mark, you can be the hunter today. Try and stay alive for at least the stream. And this is the work area. And so if we zoom out a little bit, what we want to do is have a look at our map for places to hunt. Now, we haven't done much exploring yet. Both, Mark, both. What have we got over there? And that's not promising. That looks like bandit territory. We might need to keep our folks away from that little wooded area. I spotted something in the trees. They won't hassle us unless we get too close early on, so which is just as well because we don't have any defenses. Now, what I haven't seen are any wolf dens. So what we'll do is we'll just set him over here, and we'll also send one of the villagers out here just to have a bit of a look-see what's what. Now, as I recall, there was water down this way, so we'll send a couple of villagers down there. So we've got 2 houses. There's no firewood, right? So they're telling us they need firewood and a water source. Well, we're working on the water source. Firewood might be something useful to put up in this area. So let's have a look. What's that? A firewood splitter. So let's whack him. We're going to need another road here in a minute. Let's whack the firewood splitter here. Let's build another piece of road there. And whoops. Now, the other thing we're going to need for these resources and trees that we're cutting down, at the moment we're using everything we're producing to build, but ultimately we're going to need some storage. So the first place to put things is a stockyard. So we might put the stockyard over the road from the town centre here. How about we put it I learned from watching a couple of folks, it's always best just to leave a bit of space in the center to deal with the unknown and things you decide a bit later on. So we'll put our stockyard there, and now that's close to where we're cutting trees and things at the moment. I haven't shown you this yet. This is our storage cart. In effect, the stockyard is sort of the first building equivalent of the storage cart, but at the moment everything we've got is in the storage cart. So even the wood and the stone we're cutting is going into here, along with our food supplies and our basic tools and weapons. And what we'll do shortly is, once we've got these storage areas sorted out, is we can move this wagon to where we're working so that the villagers aren't spending as much time working backwards and forwards. Welcome along. There's a couple of folks just joined. If you were expecting our regular Farm Sims stream, contrary to Mark Haythornwaite's suggestion, this is not FS25. This is Farthest Frontier, and we're having a bit of go at building medieval town. And you might say, why are you doing that? It's got nothing to do with farming. Well, as it turns out, one of the things that it does quite well, and Jack Sarge mentioned it just before, is there is the concept of a farm, and we're not quite ready to build one, but certainly in the second half of the stream we should get to the point where we lay a couple out and start to prepare them. And plan is to build one over in this sort of area here, all being well. But compared to your average SimCity city builder sort of simulation, they've put quite a bit of thought into the farm model. So you can see at the minute, here's these greens. All right, there's also a sand pit we've found here. You've got no firewood because we haven't built the firewood splitter, but we have finished the forager. So first thing we'll do, there's quite a good load of stuff over here to forage. So let's just collect all of that. These blueberries, excellent. So one of the things after we've foraged them that we want to do is most of the forageable stuff you can't move, but blueberries you can actually relocate like buildings, and so we can bring those together to create a field as we find them, and that'll make it easier to forage in the future. We'll also grab these greens in a minute. So you can see now our villagers are a little bit happier. The only thing they don't have is firewood, which we've got someone working on getting the splitter sorted out. But all the residences are stocked with food. 7 out of the 8 have got water. Could be that the 8th one doesn't have enough, isn't close enough, or it just hasn't been carried across yet. We do have some medicine. So that the villagers will go to the stores to source their needs. And for the most part, we don't have to do much about it. And as they get happier, they get more productive, and so on and so forth. So overall happiness is pretty good at the minute. No one's sick. As we develop businesses, they take on different jobs, the most basic of which is the labourer. And we can play with we can constrain the number of builders in order to build buildings slower or faster. We can also interrupt at the moment. I'll just leave this on auto and let it allocate workers as and when they come up. So that's the state of play. Are there any things that I'm zipping over or that are capturing your attention that I need to focus in on that I haven't mentioned perhaps? Or I reckon the little models and the way it all works are fabulous. All right, so there's our stockyard. So the other storage building we want, stockyard's good for hard materials, but we really need, oops, what have I done here? It's a forager's shack. What I want is a storage building. We need a storehouse, but we also want somewhere to put our food. So root cellars underground. And so we'll put one over here near the forager's hut and the hunter's shack. But I also find it's quite useful, potentially. It struck me as a good idea to put one over near the housing, so we can put one up here, up on the intersection. Now, you could argue we don't really need two, but I think it'll work out pretty good. It'll just make it a little bit easier in terms of moving backwards and forwards. And the other thing that we'll do up here is where we're going to pop our storehouse. Might be a good thing to put just we put the storehouse. So there's some buildings like the storehouse you want to put in the middle of town because it's easier to defend. And if the raiders are going to take anything, they're going to aim for the storehouse and the town centre. So we'll whack that down there for now. How are we doing, Jack? Jack Sarge? What do we got over here? There's hazelnuts, so they'll be gathered up in due course. You can see now either the blueberries have been gathered or they're out of season, but what we can do is move those across to here. Just make a little cluster, which they'll get to in due course. Now you can see that icon on there. That's just showing its effort required to move those. There's no materials, but as we find others, we'll centralise those in our little blueberry patch over there. Need a bit more wood, you reckon? Yeah, probably because I'm building fast. We're in the middle of summer. Let's see what we've still got plenty highlighted, so it's really just that I've been using up everything that we've got. Okay, what happened with our explorer out here? So what did we find? We found some clay, a deep gold deposit. So that's a good thing. But I don't know what we've got to do to access the deep gold deposit. I know we certainly need a bigger town. There's iron ore. Okay, so there's some good things out on that side of town. The other thing we'll do, where are we here? I get myself turned around and I forget where everything is. Right, out this side. I've rotated. So this is the water down in this direction. more blueberries. And there's a wolf den. So there's where we want to send our hunter. How's he going? 14 and 11. Okay, we can do that. So he hasn't produced much yet, but let's, now that we've found a wolf den, let's send him hunting down here, because wolves are annoying. They will attack. And we'll grab this road. Where's it got to build the road to? Let's grab the dirt road. Let's pull him through. We don't need to build the road, but it'll just make it faster to get down here. And we definitely want to set our farms here. Now to Jack Sarge's point, let's have a look at trees. What are these? So there's a 14 log tree that he was talking about. Let's prioritize that. And there's an 11. So that's what Jack Sarge was just talking about. We can grab a couple of those. They're nice and close here to the stockyard, so we might as well grab them. So everything's coming along quite nicely. We could probably, you can see now we've got a supply of firewood starting up. We'll need plenty of firewood for the winter. The winters are pretty harsh. But if we come to our firewood splitter here, one of the neat features that I hadn't really encountered before, so the firewood splitter takes logs and produces firewood, okay? But they've got this neat little system. We can say, well, okay, we don't, at the moment he's just as it comes, but we can say, no, well, we don't want the firewood level to drop below, say, 50. But also when you get to 150, given the size of town, stop. So that'll free him up to do other things. And each production you can set those upper limits, which is good. So he will go back to being a labourer when it's at the maximum for firewood. And so hopefully we can set and forget that to an extent. And at this population level, 50 ought to be plenty for what's happening over here. Oh, there's also some deer down this way, so it was a good idea to send the hunter down here. So we'll see how he goes. Now let's see with our houses here. We want a couple. If we look at our town centre. Oh, actually, we don't want to do that. Let's go here. We look at our buildings to unlock the market. We need a saw pit and a storehouse. Well, we're building the storehouse. We haven't got a saw pit. So resources. There's a saw pit. And the saw pit will produce boards. So you can see that the saw pit influences desirability. So if I put it near the houses, it reduces the desirability of the houses, presumably to noise and dust and smoke. And So we'll put him over here in our industrial complex where nobody's going to get too fussed about it. Let's put you right next to the storage. And so so the point Jack Sarge was just making there, if I use the mouse to select everything, it'll clear fell everything in the area. One of the reasons I took bushes out is that that doesn't take small trees. So you can see now that's actually only clearing these small ones. Now the added advantage he's talking about is if you just thin the forest, then the trees that are there will drop seeds, and over time new trees will grow. Now in an area like this where this is kind of going to be our industrial spot, we're going to want that cleared anyway, but perhaps up here we don't want it quite as thinned out. So there's hawthorn and hazelnuts. How are we going there? We've got enough food to get us through the winter, so I'm not too concerned about that. We have got not enough stone being serviced, so let's prioritize the stone. So that we get that food store sorted out. And let's pop another piece of road somewhere down. Well, let's actually just turn you round. Put 2 more houses there. Road at the front. Let's see how we go. So the firewood's coming up steadily now. What have we got in the wagon here? Plenty of food. Ah, that's a really good point. So, for example, there's a bird's nest here. If I take all the trees away, there's a very good chance that the bird's nest will disappear. Surprise, surprise. So the interconnectedness of some of the resources, it takes a little bit of discovery, which is fine. And it just helps keep things interesting. Yeah. So we're just short on logs at present. The other thing you can, up the top here, they've got some really neat info on what's actually happening, and as you get better you can deduce some interesting things. So food spoils, for example. What's your population doing? How are they doing it? So we've had 3 immigrations and 1 birth. When we get a little bit more housing and food, we should see that pick up a little bit. Let's get the forager just back a little closer. I've done pretty well in that area over here. Let's move the forager to this spot now that the snow's started to fall. What else do we need? Can't do anything with that. So we're coming, predators are attacking, so I'm guessing he found the wolves. If we click on this, this will take us to where there is the wolf. And he did. So he's been, our hunter has actually been quite successful. He's killed 3 wolves, and currently you can see that's now a grayed out symbol, so there's no wolves left. He's killed the den, which is what we wanted. Now, the issue is, if I leave this there, wolves will come back. If I kill the den, they will not respawn in that location. So it's a bit like the resources. But he'll come back and collect the carcasses to produce skins, and he's in the process of walking. That's why I built the road. He's walking them back to his hut. So if we have a look up here, he's producing skins. So boars and wolves he can kill at the minute. Here he comes. So with any luck, he should drop one off there. Right, there's a wolf carcass just arrived in storage. And he'll go back and get the others. So that's pretty cool. How are we doing? So we've got good supply of firewood now. So I'm not too concerned about the winter. 60 should be plenty for the winter. Good supply of food. We are going to lose 6 months worth of food over the next 12 months because of spoilage, because we haven't got our pits up, or our root cellars up. This one's getting close, but we need more stone. Let's put it. Where's the back of that? Let's come down. Let's do that. As you can see, it looks pretty grim in the winter. We can probably bump the time up. They've got plenty of things to do, so we'll just get through the winter a little faster. Hopefully those root cellars will complete. Right, so we've already got snow on the ground on the hills, which is what you'd expect. Leaves are gone from the trees. And we've had some immigration. Our little village grows. So next job, we can build the market now. So we might decide where we want the market. I'm thinking actually the markets improves the appeal. So you've got desirability here, improves the desirability of housing. out to a fairly wide radius. So what I'm thinking is if we put it sort of here, that'll give us a pretty good range for our housing. Oops. I'll leave the time up at 2 times till we get past the winter. There we go on there. All right, 7 people have arrived. We will accept them. I can't think of a good reason to turn them away at this point. There is a risk if you turn immigrants away that they could get violent and attack you. Don't think we want that. What's happening here? Why is that villager unhappy? No ailments. Happiness. Oh, we're... right. So we've run out of houses is the short answer to that question. So let's build another house here. Oops. More housing. Let's put you there. Let's put one up there. Yeah, oh, I anticipated it. We've laid it out and all. You can see we're getting through the food, so we've had a bit spoiled. But we're now starting to get this stone out, so that'll be good. What are our stores? Our villagers are all wearing shoes. That's always good to hear. So quite a lot of detail. About what's going on. The wolves are eerie. Right, so there's our root cellar. Okay, so we've got a root cellar up here now. So the first thing we want to do is over here in our storehouse. We want to stop storing the food in the storehouse. So we want to store the food in the root cellar. Okay, so that'll leave spot in the storehouse for all the things that belong there. Now we're coming along quite nicely in terms of population. We're going to need some more houses. All right, this is letting us know how to select and delete things, which is what we've been doing. All right, there's plenty there that are identified. We could probably do with a road up this side. Make it a bit easier. They move more quickly on the roads, as you would expect. Right, more stone required. Let's pop another house. There. So now if we pop over here, I'm inclined, because we've gone into the new year. We talked about, and whilst it might be a little bit early in terms of the development, I want to sort of get started on our farm. So this is nice fertile ground over here. There's where we're moving our blueberry bushes to. So where are we in proximity? This is actually pretty good here. So why don't we, and it doesn't need much clearing here, so let's lay out a farm. So food production, let's grab our farm. So farms are pretty much square fields, no great surprise there, but there's a minimum size. Now there doesn't seem to be much advantage. Obviously, it takes more labourers to do anything on them. So it's a little bit rudimentary, but I think what we'll do is go for something about this sort of size. Right, you can see where the fertility is set. Now, so that area is now marked out. There's nothing to clear here, but people will now be assigned to come and turn that into farmland. Now what we'll do is we'll build a road down to there because the first worker has arrived. Now the other thing I learnt playing in my first game is that unlike Farm Sim, you need to fence your farmland, because if you don't fence your farmland, and it's worth doing it right at the outset, then as the minute you plant something in it, animals eat whatever you plant. So to avoid stock losses, we come down here to roads and fencing, and we can put a gate at the entrance here. Like, which way do I always get confused about which way the gate goes? Let's do that. Now, we'll do a fence. We could build a stone fence, but they're expensive. So we'll build him down there. Now, ultimately, I want to have another field alongside this. So that was 5 cells wide. So if I leave 5, and with my fence, build my fence across to there. We can have one gate. There we go. Now we don't want that rock in the middle of our field, so we'll get rid of him as well. But you can see they're tackling the farm. Now again, up here on we've got 5 out of 5 farmers. We could slow down the rate at which they're prepping it, but I want to get into that sooner rather than later. So we'll let them work away at our farm. Up here in town. Oh, isn't that wonderful? We've got a coal deposit right where we're at. Now that's a good thing and a bad thing. But you can imagine if I build a coal mine here, it's not going to be a very desirable feature for our settlement. The good news is it's actually got a finite supply, so it's not going to forever be coal, but I guess it's better to have it than not have it. Now, let's move you a little bit closer to the trees we're cutting down. And down here, let's send someone down here. What's our hunter doing? It's always worth checking in. Move that. Let's pop you over there. Right, so food. Where's our forager? We might need another. The firewood splitter's going fine. Where's our forager? It's right next door. Let's move your area over here. Another villager. I've obviously got myself turned around. Maybe it's over there that the water is. Oh, blueberries. So that's the wolf den, and that's where the deer were. So is our forager going to reach those blueberries? Not quite. Let's just make sure we get you in range. How's our farm coming along there? Right, so you can see the fencing's starting to appear. The rocks coming out here. And the first of our fields are appearing. There's still 200 hours of labour to go in there. I think hours, days, I don't know. So what other buildings have we got? Let's see. We don't need a cemetery. Well, we will need a cemetery, but only really when somebody dies. It's not much advantage, or not any advantage I can see to building it early. But if you leave bodies lying around, they create disease and attract rodents and things. Shrines cost gold to build. And we need to get to tier 2 to build these more established buildings. And tier 2 is our city level. And for that, we've got the basic requirements. Now we just need to accumulate planks and stone. So we're heading in that direction. So things are coming along nicely. Now, our farm is laid out. So this is my first view of this is quite busy, but it's actually pretty straightforward. So you've got the next 3 seasons and they automatically rotate. So you can plan out 3 years ahead. You can change it, but it allows you to set up a rotation. If you plant the same crops over and over, they affect the viability of the fields. You can make fields bigger, but obviously these settings apply to each field. And so if you want some variety rather than making monster fields, that's why my first impression is it's actually useful to have sort of a medium sized field. I think you can build them up to 12 by 12, but if you put 2 side by side, you'll get one of these crop schedules for each. even though they're inside the same fence line. The field itself, let's just go back to half times for a minute. The field itself has fertility, it has weeds, and it has rocks. Now, the first thing we want to do with our field here is click in here. These are the crops we know how to plant, and each crop has a bunch of characteristics. And looking at this, I was immediately impressed with it's like, this is the level of meaningful information that'd be kind of neat to see arrive in Farm Sim. And the interface and the way it's done here is quite impressive. So they all have different levels of impact, different levels of yield, different tolerance to hot and cold and dry, rocks, and planting them in different sequences obviously affects the state of the field. At the moment, we're kind of in the middle of the fertile range. We can add sand, and you might have noticed sand and clay deposits on the, we can gather those and mix that in to change the soil. We can also create compost, which we'll set up shortly, and over time, because that's a long-term process, we can add compost, which will improve the fertility. But for now, the first thing we need to do is get this weed level down, I think. So if we pick our field maintenance, and that's going to put a time scale in, and we can move that around. But let's set him in. This is where we are in the year, so this is all that's left. So let's leave the rest of the year there. We don't have time for any crops. Then we can perhaps early in the new year, let's put some, oops. Come back again. Early in the new year, put those in. Let's do some more maintenance. That won't fit. Up. Try again, and then do some maintenance and perhaps put some wheat in. And there's our crops selected and set. So now we can leave the farmers to do their thing. Now those, while I think of it, we'll move these blueberries here. Okay. Hawthorn. So there was the water. There's herbs and roots down by the water. So the other thing we want to do here is that road. Let's grab that. Bring a road down to the water's edge. Oops. Let's see here. Oh, we're out of houses again. Too attractive a settlement. So how's it going? How are you following along? Am I doing it at a reasonable speed for people, or too fast or too slow? Is there other things that you want to see? Is it giving you a good sense of how it all works? We probably need another well, I would reckon. Resources, let's put another well. Over there. And another couple of houses laid out. Whoops. Let's that'll be good. How are we going with trees and things? Food's getting a bit low, isn't it? So what we need down here. So if we build a fishing shack down by the water. Whoops. Try putting it on the water's edge, not in the water. And let's prioritize you. Have I got any wood in the wagon? Not really. What else do we need? The housing's coming along. We need some more trees down, don't we? Let's get that one down. And that one. And that one. Good-o. Hawthorn. So let's get the forager sorted. We might need another forager, I think. Now you can see we've started to accrue gold. So when the welcome along if you've just joined, by the way, great to have you in. Just doing something a little bit different today, having a look at a early access, or sorry, pre-release game that's available on Steam called Farthest Frontier. It's a bit of fun. It's certainly beautifully done. As you can see, very stable and seems to perform pretty well. But our market is producing gold for us from taxes. So that's a good start. We've got a few things that we'll want to get into that will start to cost us gold, and our stockpiles of logs and firewood are now increasing nicely. With our wood planks, there's our Thor pit. We want to do the same thing that we did before and set a bit of a limit so we don't have an unlimited supply. We want plenty, but 200 as a max. 2 woodcutters is fine for the moment. Our firewood supply's coming along nicely. I think we will put in another hunter. Just there. And we might... I'm just curious, does the forager shack doesn't impact desirability, so we could... Main thing is if we put a forager shack near the food storage, that'll be useful. We might pop him on the road there. Oh, that's good, John. It's each to their own. I really didn't know. I enjoy it. It's not something I would expect to stream again necessarily, unless there was a particular aspect of it that people wanted to see. But I am quite impressed by it. I really like the way it's been done. It's quite engaging. Absolutely, Jack Sarge. Go right ahead. Ah, that's a really good point. I have not placed a smokehouse. I should have. So that'll be why my meat's spoiling. So that's why the meat losses are so high despite the good pickup. So there's the smokehouse. Now that's clearly an unpleasant building to have next door. So we'll whack him up here. And that will help, and we'll set him with some priority. So you can see it gets the icon when I set it as a priority bills. So people should rush over there to sort that out shortly, and that will make a big difference to our food supplies. I should have put that in as soon as I built the saw pit right back in early on. And in fact, what we'll do is we'll set this one when it's built. We'll set this one to smoke meat, and we'll put a second one in to smoke the fish. Oh, we've used up all the housing again. So here's our fishermen. They work the same. Yep, I know. As the other food resources, but they can only fish in the water, obviously. And if we look along here, some good foraging, but that spot, I don't think we'll get any greater, but we can fish the area there, and he will produce fish. Clay deposit right on his doorstep. There's the road. So the smokehouse is almost done. Production's halted at the what building's that? The firewood splitter. Because he's up to, I don't know why he's halted. But no. So a little bit of work to do the smokehouse. We've got houses laid out, so they'll be built in due course. Come on. Yeah, the housing shortage is under control. There's a few foraging things here, so let's get those sorted. Hawthorn, plenty of hawthorn around. Hazelnuts. Whoop, the wolves are back. What was that wolf den? Deer sighted over here. What's our hunter up to? Let's send you down there again. Right. That our smokehouse? Yes. So here it can produce smoked meat and smoked fish. But before he gets... what do I want here? He hasn't got either meat or fish at the minute. He does. He does have both, actually. Let's... We want him to do mainly meat. If he's not empty and you set it to 0, he won't ever process it, so it'll just spoil. So it struck me that it's a good idea to mainly do one and the other. But you can change that, obviously, at will. Because then what we'll do is over here, let's put another one in there. And when he's built, we'll set him to smoke the fish. Now, so our housing's picked up, that's all good. Work's done on the fields for the year, so that's complete. So they'll plant some cabbage. It should go all right because with rockiness is not too bad. It does do, it will help us keep the weeds down, and it doesn't impact too much on fertility. So we'll see how that goes. Our yield is okay without being fantastic. Right. Now, the next thing to think about as we move into the new year is there's a few more buildings that we can have a look at. Housing will upgrade to tier 2 houses when we get the town centre upgrade, or at least they'll become available. Storage, we've got all of the major storage we need. Tier 2 resources, we could put a tannery in. Might be a good idea to build a cobbler's shop. So let's think about shopping district. Mightn't be a bad idea just in here. So if we put cobbler's shop sort of like so, and the Fletcher's beside him. So Fletcher's makes arrows. We haven't found any willow, and a compost yard we'll need. Let's take our compost yard. That's pretty ugly. We don't want that anywhere near here. So this is our night soil man, and let's pop him hollow. Would strike me as a good idea, but let's just pop him up the back here. Build a road. And build that road down in front of the shops that we just built, or the little businesses. We can bump the time up again. We've got enough housing, got just enough food. The villages are active. So what we're working through on buildings, so they're those. To get the mines and resources, sort of the more sophisticated resource gathering, we need to get to tier 2, which is coming up. We've got everything else we need from there. We could build a lookout tower, but that will use up our gold supply. But at some point it would be a good idea. Oh, the other thing we could do, just put a couple of decorations in the houses to increase the desirability a little bit. So you can see that placing a garden or the likes affects lots of houses. So let's make something perhaps in there. Whoops. Not allowed to. There we go. Put one over there. Another one. Down beside the market, perhaps. Welcome along if you've just joined. We're just having a look at Farthest Frontier. Building a little bit of a medieval village. Coming along quite nicely. We're just in the start of year 3. If you've got any questions, sing out. This is a game on Steam. It's not quite finished, so it's work in progress, but I think it's working pretty well. There's certainly a lot of capability in it, and you can see where they're heading. So we've run out of trees to pull down. So let's just pick a few of these. Prioritize you. Let's take a couple of these. There we go. Good. Now, if we talk about upgrades, you can see because we don't have a vault, our gold is just piled up beside the storehouse. I always find that quite amusing. So it'll upgrade, or give us the option to upgrade when we get to 30 stone. So we need to get on with some stone. Where are we here? So there's that one. Prioritize you. One. Prioritize you. Did I actually click the button on that? I did not. Obviously stone, once you remove it, doesn't come back. But our village is growing quite nicely. They're getting ready to plant. Oh, we could get rid of that rock there, couldn't we? Did I select him? Yep, he's on the list. Get rid of him too. Here's our fisherman doing. They're producing fish nicely now. So our other smokehouse will do the opposite of what we did. So let's produce smoked fish. Now what I was talking about, upgrades will generally happen automatically when the required materials, so on some buildings they'll happen automatically. So if we look at the housing, we've got everything we need. We need the tier 2 town centre, which we're working towards. We just need the stone really to get us in position for that. And we've got to get the desirability up on the houses, which is coming up slowly. But you can see it's not terrific at the minute. So they're building a few more amenities for the townspeople will help. Their basic needs are met. Rightio. So, next job. Clay deposit. So we've got good, let's move our forager around again. We had another forager over here, didn't we? That we built. Was that it? No, it's a shelter. Where did I put the forager that I put? There it is. So let's you forage out that way. Little grove of blueberries is looking good. So let's make sure this forager, oops, that's the hunter. Where's the other forager? There it is. Goes and gets those. Oh, now the other thing you can do with the interface, if I can remember how to do it, that's too much information for all the villages. Ah, there we go. So on the resources, it'll tell you how much there is. And that can be a bit more useful as a tooltip. Now, where did we get to? We just want that stone in, don't we? Our Fletcher's produced, our cobbler's now producing shoes. So we want you, we certainly want to have a minimum of, what do we got? 40 residents. So let's go with a minimum of 25 pairs of shoes. But actually, when you get to 100, let's stop. Because when we get the next stage of town, we'll get a trading post set up, and excess goods that we've produced we'll be able to sell, which will be excellent. Yeah. Fences, resources. We don't want to use, because we need the stone. Let's prioritize that. We're getting there. I think we want to get rid of a bunch of those trees. Yes. Villages are coming along. We will need more houses shortly. I'm hoping to get the upgrade happening here in a second. And you need 60 planks. So let's just not build anything more with planks for the minute. Let that get to the level we need. Hive of industry here in town. That pile of gold really is one of the things we can do in the next level, is build a vault for our gold. I want him producing a few more arrows than he is bows. All right, and so now we're ready to upgrade. Little upgrade symbol. So we'll take our stone and our planks, and we'll build our upgrade. And when that's done, we'll get access to all of the next level buildings. Nobody's sick. Food's coming along nicely, although we've still got a bit of spoilage. What is... agriculture. Why is our spoilage rates kicked up? Because we've got a lot of... the forager's shack. What's the root cellar? Got plenty of greens. Got plenty of space in the root cellar, so... let's see. Let's get this sand underway. So resources, because that's a finite amount of sand and we'll want the land later. I haven't unlocked it yet because I need a wagon shop. So storage. So let's build a wagon shop. That doesn't affect anybody to the negative, so let's just put you centrally. What else do we need? Granary. Let's put the granary down near our farm. We don't have any iron ore for the vault at this stage. Produce that. An arborist. Let's plant an orchard. I thought they were pretty cool. That fits with our farming theme. Yeah, they want a school. So I reckon if we put an orchard in over here somewhere like that. So let's... well, there's the raider camp down there. Okay. Let's go this way then. Let's put our... let's pop you there. That works. Now, how are these houses going? Desirability is coming up, but not quite fast enough. We could put a school in, I guess. Amenities and services, healer's house, trading. Well, let's build a trading post because the traders are pretty cool. I quite liked the way that all worked. Let's put the trading post in. Because then we can start to buy and sell things we don't have with other villages. So our weed levels came down a little bit as a result of the crops we planted. We're doing some more work, and you can move these within the window to fit the weather a little bit if you need to. Kind of cool. Yeah, plenty there to be foraging. There's a nice sand deposit down there. There's also some roots and herbs, so we might... Maybe we'll send the other forager over there. Where are you? Let's you go down to the waterfront and pick those up. Right. So they're coming along. What we could do here is just put a maybe we put a park in or something. Let's just see here. Not housing, decorations. Medium garden. So these would add a +4. Where could I put you? That might be a good spot. So when the desirability of the neighborhood improves, they move out of these pretty rugged looking first generation cottages into slightly better accommodation, more established houses. We need some more water. Okay, so let's put a well up in town, in fact. We need one up here in case of fire anyway, so let's just pop you there. And maybe we put one here. More water down the back there. So if we have a look at the desirability, we're still very much in the yellow 20% range. So we've got a bit of work to do to get that up. Let's clear a few of those. Now, what's next? What's next? What's next? Fishing's happening. Oh, we should be able to, now that we've got some transport. There we go. There's our wagon shop finished. So a sand pit we want to pop. There, I think. there. Can't tell which way you want to. It doesn't really matter. So as long as you're in that zone, there's perfect. Right. So that'll start to accumulate sand, which we can use to mix in with our soil. Oh, and we put the night soil guy in. There he is over there. And so the waste is starting to produce a pile of compost for the future. Now, the other thing, if I go ahead, oh, what have I put there? Let's not do that. Yes. Now, if we go ahead and put a coal mine, just out of curiosity, on the corner. Let's, might as well. Then we've got the coal for when we need it. What are we doing over there? Right. What's next, do you reckon, Jack Sarge? So our work areas are empty, yes, they are indeed. So we got... Let's just move you up there. And anybody else got any suggestions of anything we're running a bit low on those materials. It's a big pile of stone down here. What we might... Any more food options, you reckon? That's a good question. Let's see. Turn that off. Food. What can we produce? Well, now that we've got the trading coming, we need to, if we want to build a windmill, that would be the smart thing, because then we could produce flour and get into bakeries, which the locals like. So where would we put our windmill? Up here on the hill would seem to be a reasonable spot. Now, that's going to mean we need to put flax in our... So rather than planting wheat at this stage, we'd be better off deleting that. Yes, we will. That's a good point. So let's put flax in there. What does flax need? Oh, we've got a fire. We've got a fire. Hopefully there's enough water floating around. Tolerant to heat. That's actually not a terrible choice, is it? So that'll be all right. So we'll do the flax. Now, I like your suggestion. We could now create a new field in the spot that we've laid out. And when that's sorted, we can go to looking at our livestock. Let's have a look at our livestock option. Oh, we put down an arborist building. It hasn't been created yet because he needs clay. Okay. That fire doesn't look particularly good. At the night soil play, it's a compost fire. Oh well, there are worse ways to do. At least to put it far enough away it's not burning any of the buildings. Methane or just straight combustible material. Kind of strange that it's overheated in this temperature, but hey, stuff happens. What do you got in here? You've got plenty of logs. Let's bring you back. Park you there. Let's harvest resource. Harvest resource. Harvest resource. Ah, how rude. It actually burnt it to the ground. I hadn't had that happen before. We can rebuild you. And maybe we should put some water up on top of the hill. Nope, it's not a fishing shack. Let's try a well. Yeah, it just didn't finish building it because I deleted it to put the coal mine down. That was what the problem was. How's our desirability coming along? Another building on fire, really? That's not the building we wanted to burn. Having a lot more issues with disasters than I did the first time I played. Now I can select workers. I don't know that if I can... What happens if I do that? Oh no, they walk into the flames. That's not good. I can get people to mass. Maybe now that they're here, they'll actually do something. No, they're just going to stand around and look at it. Cool. Nothing to hunt there, so let's... Hunting's a bit thin on the ground, isn't it? Let's come over here. And let's... just explore out a little bit further. But there you go. That's probably, we're going to roll into the new year. We got through 3 years. We've got a few things going on. We've certainly got a foothold, almost at 50 residents. So thanks again to Jack Sarge for tipping me off to this. I just happened to notice him playing it and having some fun. That's okay, Mark. I've been enjoying myself. Hopefully it was at least mildly interesting and entertaining to watch. May not be your cup of tea, that's fine. We will be back on Vintage Oaks on Thursday night, continuing on there. Hopefully the sunflowers will be ready to harvest, and we can have a bit of a chat about Farm Sim. But until then, stay safe everyone. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.